Catherine, are we online? We are good to go. Okay. I'd like to welcome you all to this December 21st Municipal Planning Commission, and I'll go ahead and call it to order. We'll begin our agenda by excusing one member of MPC this morning. Would somebody like to make a motion? Holly? Holly moves Ellen's absence at our MPC meeting. All in favor of that motion. That is carried. Introductions. We have some guests in the audience, so let's begin this morning over with Lynette and introduce ourselves.
Changing it up. I'm Lynette Kopp. I'm Division 3 counselor for the Patricia Millicent area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1 Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Adina Scandrep, Division 2, the Tilly area.
Welcome, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Morning, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Morning, Arno Dirksen, Division 9 from the Gem area.
And I'm Kelly Chrisman. I'm from the west side of the county, and I'll chair this MPC meeting this morning.
Good morning, Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Duchess area.
Morning, guys. You know me.
Catherine, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer. Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Shanna Lee, Development Officer.
Hi, I'm Maria Jackson, the Supervisor of Planning and Development.
And we have several guests in our audience, and Catherine has a mobile. Thank you. If you just state your name. It's for our online listeners.
Okay, it's Jeff Charlton.
Thanks, Jeff.
Frank Muntinga.
Frank.
Mark Harbeck, Director of Municipal Services.
Galvin Petrie, Roberts Transport.
And I'm Jeff Tiffin with the Planning and Development Department.
Great, thank you, and welcome to this meeting. We have minutes in our agenda package. How do you wish to handle them? Lynette.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Any discussion? All in favor of Lynette's motion? That is carried. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions? Seeing none, a motion to approve, please. Adina.
I move we approve the agenda.
Thank you. All in favor of Adina's motion? That is carried. Development permits. Item 6, Shanna Lee. Good morning.
Good morning. Development permit 2023078 is for the approval of an existing industrial business, specifically a transport company, and the existing use of a manure storage facility. Maria had already emailed you some timeline, but just to reiterate, the first development permit issued for the parcel was in 1994 when it was zoned country residential. In 1999, it was rezoned from country residential to industrial. And in 2017, the parcels were consolidated. Roberts Transport has been operating on this parcel since 2010 when it was relocated from High River, Alberta. The applicant has noted that the business has been in operation in Alberta and Saskatchewan for over 35 years. In 2014, the applicant reached out to the County of Newell regarding the construction of a manure storage facility. And I have noted what was discussed in the minutes for that. But to summarize, the manure pit does not fall under the NRCB regulations. A DP was not requested, as noted in our historical documents. In discussions with the NRCB, it was confirmed that a manure storage facility under 500 tons doesn't require a permit under them and should be permitted by the municipality. The storage facility is, if it was over 500 tons, it would be required to be a minimum of 100 meter setbacks from dwellings. This one is under 500 tons and it is not 100 meters from the dwellings. It is approximately 110 meters to the closest dwelling. It receives approximately 8 tons per day. There is a safety fence installed around the back and the sides of the pit, and it has lighting. There's a wash bay that is a single bay just for Roberge trucks. They clean out their trailer prior to going into the wash bay. The water from the wash bay is then removed, and they have an agreement with the City of Brooks to take it to the lagoon. There is there's no issues from staff. There was no concerns with the IDP. There is 2 responses from landowners that are in your package. In discussions with the NRCB, they had suggested that with the fly, because flies were noted that they were an issue for the neighbors, that Roberge work with the NRCB to create a fly control program that is approved by the NRCB. They also recommended for odor, the NRCB recommended windbreaks or some sort of cover on the manure pit. The other thing that they said might be a consideration is to have the manure pit not used over the weekends when neighbors might be home. We are recommending approval with conditions, and Gavin from Roberge is here to respond to questions regarding the business.
Thank you. Gavin, would you like to speak to the application? Anything to add? Anything that you would like to say in favor of this application?
Yeah, I'm in favour of the application, yeah.
Okay, just speak into the microphone.
Oh, yeah. I'm in favour of the application, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And have you noticed any odor or flies?
It's kind of hard to notice when you're in the middle of it. There hasn't been an increase in any more trucking going in the last 10 years. It's been consistent, the same for the last 10 years since we put the storage facility in. We transport the manure out to a local, we have an agreement with a local farmer. We transport it out 2-3 times a week. We keep it well under 500 tons. We try to clean it up as best we can, but obviously it's manure. And we didn't think there was an issue because we heard nothing for years.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gavin. Are there any questions?
Yeah, just how many trucks would you be cleaning out there, say, on a daily or weekly basis, would you say?
We're getting probably 5 to 6 trucks on average a day. Some days we don't get any.
Yeah.
And some days we get 15, 20, depending on the loads going into GBS. It all depends on what's coming in. We don't regulate it. We don't, like, we can't say you can't come here, only 5 trucks a day because of the loads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand the nature of the business. I was just wondering, so what would you say average? 5 a day?
Loads a day. 5 trucks a day.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
That's on average.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand that. Yeah. And how do you, like, the water from the washout all goes into the pit as well?
No, the water from the wash bay goes straight to the council lagoon with the agreement we have with the county lagoon.
Oh, okay. Into the city drain?
Into the city lagoon. We truck it to the city lagoon.
Oh, okay. But you don't capture the water in that pit?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, yeah.
No. The only thing that's captured in there is rainwater when it rains directly on it. That's the only water that goes in there. There is all the rest of it comes straight from the trailers, which is
pretty wet too, probably.
Yeah. Obviously, in the summer it's liquid, but in the winter it's frozen.
Oh, yeah.
It's, excuse my French, shit.
Oh, yeah, I understand a lot of, that's, I just I've been by there and it's pretty wet, but there isn't, the water from the washout doesn't go into there at all. Oh, okay.
No. It is only manure that goes in there. There's nothing else goes in there but what comes out of the trailers after they've dropped their loads.
Basically shoveled out and then...
Shoveling out, that's it.
Yeah.
Holly?
Hi, can I get some clarification on moving the manure out? I believe it's, I read somewhere once every 2 weeks is what was required by the previous council, but you're saying sometimes you can take it out 2 times a week or 3 times a week?
Yeah, we're actually, we've just finished rigging up a new truck, so we're going to be transporting it out of there 3 times a week minimum. So that the pit will be emptied, well, try to be emptied at least 3 times a week now.
Do you believe that will alleviate some of the odor or flies? I mean, I come from a farm, so I understand. I'm just asking if you can be a difference.
Well, obviously, the less that's in there, the less odor and less flies. And that's what we're basing on, trying to keep it as empty as we can for as long as we can. That's what our aim is as Roberts Transport, to keep it empty. So there is less odor and less flies and less problems.
Any other questions? Lynette?
In Shanley's report, she said some specifications that were suggested by NRCB, the fly control and the covering it. Have you done any of those things or attempted them to see if they would work?
No, because of the cost. Sorry, I've got to press this. Yeah, we haven't looked into that yet because we didn't think it was necessary. But obviously we're going to look into it now and try and mitigate the situation between us and the neighbours, because we want to have good relations with our neighbours. And I've always been the guy who listens to neighbours and tries to mitigate, tries to make our stay there as less annoying as people think it is. But we are an industrial company and we have a lot of trucks coming and going. So we're trying our best.
Gavin, and you appreciate our situation. We're picking up on a previous situation that nowadays would not be approved, where there's residential on either side in close proximity to industrial. So now we're in quite a situation here. So just understand our position as well.
Oh, I do. I understand.
There's another question here from Arno, please.
A couple of questions. Sorry. I have 2 questions. When you haul out, how do you load it?
Loader, with a wheeled loader.
Wheel loader?
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, it's fairly soupy, it looks to me like, eh?
Yeah, but we the trailers that we get are sealed trailers, and we only fill them halfway when it's liquid like that. We're not going to fill it right to the top for us. Obviously going to spill. We try to mitigate the spilling as much as we possibly can. And when we do get notice of spillage on the road, we're immediately out there trying to clean up. That's never been an issue.
Okay. And I mean, I appreciate your comments about trying to do what you can to mitigate the disturbance to the neighbors and that kind of thing. What else, and what can you do to help with that? Because as was mentioned, it's an awkward situation in some respects because of what the history we've all inherited, I guess. What are the measures that you're looking at taking specifically to try to mitigate the impact?
Well, what the NRCB suggested was maybe a windscreen round the manure pit or something. I haven't looked into it yet, so I was wanting to try and find out what's going to happen here today, and then what measures we have to take, we are willing to take to try and alleviate any problems.
What did you do when was this built?
In 2010.
And when did you get there?
2009.
Oh, okay. So what did you do till you got that built for clean out?
There was no clean out.
No, not there, but
the truckers had to go to either bow slope or find feedlots in the area who are willing to take it. But this is the biggest problem with the cattle industry, the haulage industry, is that nobody wants it. All the cattle that we haul into Lakeside, technically, whatever's left in the trailer belongs to Lakeside too. But they don't have a clean out, and they won't put in a clean out. And that is the biggest problem with the cattle industry just now, is nobody wants the clean outs. And it finds this very, very difficult situation because the CFIA tells us we can't run with dirty trailers, you've got to clean them out. Where do you clean them out? There is no clean outs anywhere. So to make our Robust Transport a better company, we decided we put in a clean out so we could follow CFIA rules and try and keep our industry a better standard of cleanliness in the trailers.
How long have you been hauling it out 2 or 3 times a week?
Well, we're not, right now we're doing it once or twice every 10 days because we don't have we'll just get the truck rigged up this week, so this is our plan going forward to try and 2 or 3 times a week to try and get it cleaned out.
So Gavin, is this news to you that the neighbors are not happy with the surrounding activities?
It's news to me that there is such a heavy complaint.
I see.
The neighbours to the east of us, we had, because our rear doors of the wash bay open and the equipment that we're using is noisy, we made an agreement we would, after 5 o'clock, the doors were closed, so to mitigate the noise pollution over to our side. And anytime MDs come to make a complaint to me directly, it's been dealt with and sorted out that day. And I'm open to people coming to talk to me, but.
Any other questions of Gavin? Go ahead.
I'm just curious, do you haul to JBS 24/7 in the, like at night?
365 days a year.
Okay. Oh, Holly.
You just said about you deal with complaints as soon as you're aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten many complaints? I'm sure you're getting complaints about, noise and trucks. Have you gotten complaints previous about odor and flies on a?
No.
Only truck complaints before this?
Most of the time it has been truckers coming into the yard, and they've all been told, send memos to all the truckers to do not use your exhaust brakes coming near the yard, do not park next to the residential buildings, keep your trucks away, no idling in the yard, no horns in the yard. That's all rules set down by us. Whether the drivers stick to that rules, it's another story. Because all we can do, you can either fire them because we're the lease ops, which nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to fire drivers for honking their horn. You know what I mean?
Are all the trucks only Roberge?
Yeah, the only people that come into our yard is Robert's trucks.
Okay.
That we have notices up saying that we will fine people $5,000 if they try and come into our yard without permission or prior knowledge to it.
Thank you. And Arno has a question.
So what have been, this question is maybe partly for staff or for Maria or Shanali too. Where are the closest residences on that drawing? One to the west and north on the road side of where the driveways are. Can you circle the houses there or just highlight them?
So there is a residence here to the west. There's a residence here to the east, and then this residence right here. And they're all within the same distance away from the pit.
What have been the prevailing concerns relative to the manure pit. I mean, I think that seems to be that's the biggest question that I would have, and the most difficult thing to mitigate. What have been the most common complaints, let's say, about the manure pit there? Do you have, has there been enough to quantify it?
No, the only, this is the first time I've heard a complaint about the shit pit, the manure pit, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. I mean, certainly our concern, I understand the dynamic of the trucking industry and agriculture. Nobody wants to add costs where we don't have to, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But, go on.
You wanted to add something?
The only complaint we had is on the road, coming round to our yard and coming down from the other side. You can imagine they're all supposed to be professional drivers, and some of them are just not. And we've told them, slow down on the corners, clean out your trailers better. We've tried and tried and tried, but we've got such a turnover. It's kind of a seasonal job. We got a lot of truckers in the tail end of the year, and then they're all scattered. They're all going to do different things in the spring. So we get revolving new truckers all the time, and we tell them, and we've got set rules. You can't do this, you can't do this. When you come into town, you can't do this, you can't do this. But like I said earlier, whether they follow them, no, I can't be there to police them every day.
Thank you. And I appreciate your comment when you say come into town.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Like,
But
these truckers are in basically a very residential section.
They have all been told.
Holly, I saw another hand.
Yeah, just with your trucking. I mean, Smith Trucking is right across the road, and there's an oil field company down, well, I guess that's east. That map looks crooked to me because I'm geographically challenged. But so there's a fair number of trucks on that road that have nothing to do with you, right? Is most of I hear you some of the problems with manure. Is there other stuff being left on the road by other companies, or that's not, it's just that there's stuff on the road, it generally is from your business, out of curiosity?
No, it's not. You're kind of blaming us for everything in the area. It's not true. There is a lot of other cattle hauling companies that come into Lakeside, and they do come over to Smithbrook to scale in and scale out, use Smithbrook scale. So there is more than just Robert's Transport coming in here, and a lot.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Are the trucks always coming from the west? Is that west? Like around the curve, or they come from both ways?
They come from both ways.
Okay.
Okay.
But I have to add, most of the time they come round the curve because they're all coming to Lakeside, JBS, and then coming to the yard. So they all come round that way. But we get quite a lot coming in from the other end too.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for Gavin? Neil?
Yeah, just a comment to back up what Holly was just asking. I live right there. I know all about this. Smiths probably have, what do they got, Gavin, 100 trucks across the road from you? You guys operate 100. M4's got 15 trucks on the corner. I got 4. They've been there forever. And his site was a welding shop, really busy welding shop before, back in the day. Then Heartland had it, huge amount of equipment up there. Our company had it for a little while, sold it to these guys. It's always been a busy thing. If you guys could come to some agreement on those flies, whether you got to spray them every once in a while or something, like I'm in the same business on the other side of the street.
Yeah, like I said, I'm open to suggestions, anything that can help this situation.
That's great. That helps us a lot.
I'm not here to fight. As Roberts is a transport company, he's not here to fight. We're here to try and resolve a situation so everybody can go further in the future with a better communication, better circumstances, better relations. Because we don't want to leave this area. And I'm sure
we don't want you to leave.
The Brooks area doesn't want this revenue stream that's coming, and they want to leave us either. So that's why I'm here, to try and figure something out. If we have to put up a screen, then we'll look into put up on a screen or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions for Gavin before I switch him out? Seeing none, thank you. We'll just get you to take your seat, and we'll ask if anybody else would like to speak, either for or against the application. Sure, Jeff, come forward, please. Maria will set you up. There you go. Okay.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Jeff Charlton. I've been one of the landowners beside the property. I've lived there my entire life. And over the years, since they've moved in, it has been getting busier. It has been noisier. There's a 24-hour round-the-clock business, washing trucks, cleaning out trucks, scraping out. And the worst is in the winter time when they're smashing and banging trailers all hours of the night into the manure pit. And I have concerns with that. I know it's a busy place. I do understand business. But this was a light industrial zone property, and 24-hour round the business I don't think is good for that. All the prior businesses were shut down at night. Never had an issue with them. Smith Trucking shuts down at night pretty much. No complaints with them. But this is a concern of mine, and I kind of don't think it's right having a manure pit beside my house.
Okay.
We've dealt with this for over a few years now, and it has been getting worse with the smell, the flies, etc. And yeah, I'm here to voice my concerns on that, and that's what I am concerned about.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Maria, can you confirm, is that correct, that it was light industrial zoning? It is light industrial?
Currently, it's zoned industrial general district, but in previous land use bylaws, it is light industrial. Industrial logistics is a use that means storage and intermodal distribution of goods. So the trucking business itself would be considered logistics. But because of that manure pit, that is what makes the business industrial heavy, which becomes a discretionary use. So MPC has the ability to put conditions on approve or not approve based on the location. So I guess to sum that up, the trucking business is a permitted use. Anything that creates nuisance to adjacent landowners is what is at the discretion of the Municipal Planning Commission.
Okay. Questions of staff or of Jeff? Neil.
Yeah, just for a little bit more history, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how did this ever go through the first time? Because I'm sure that Gavin and Marcel were in trying to get a permit, and Jeff should have been notified of that a long time ago. Is something not right here?
So to open up the history books, and I think it is a learning opportunity as well. So originally, the Roberge lot and the lot to the east were one parcel. There was a welding or a shop that was used as a welding shop, and then the owner of that or lived adjacent to it. So then there was a subdivision application that happened to separate the house from the shop. If that application would come in today, staff would not recommend that, because having a shop separate on a residential parcel has the potential to create a business without that business having without living there. And so then any impact doesn't really impact where they live, but it does impact the people that live around them. So that happened. And then because that land was used as a welding shop, They wanted to intensify, I believe, and so in order to intensify, they needed to change the land use district from residential to industrial. At that time, I believe that was in the 80s, maybe early 90s. At that time, the direction that staff gave was because that welding shop had been there forever, that it was a legal non-conforming use, and so council at that time could consider that a good reason to change the land use district. If that was to happen now, we would say, yes, it is legal non-conforming. It can stay that way until something changes. So that change would have been the land use amendment, the intensification, and so then that business is no longer suitable for that location. So then it was recommended that it could happen. Now, looking back, we have hindsight on our side. We would say that probably shouldn't be a use in that location, and that shouldn't be an industrial general property. However, it happened. Then in 2014, Roberge came in, they discussed the manure pit. County staff at that time had discussed it with the NRCB. The NRCB says the amount of manure in this pit is under the limits of the Agriculture Operating Practices Act, which is what the NRCB uses to determine their permitting. So they said that's not us. County didn't really have a way to permit or wasn't quite sure how to do with it, what to do with it. So they kind of said, well, NRCB isn't permitting this, you also don't need a permit from the county. Hindsight being what it is, if this would happen now, if the NRCB isn't permitting it, then the county needs to permit it. And adjacent landowners need to have the ability to comment. Roberge did approach the county. It was quite a discussion. There was some information given to Roberge by the NRCB for mitigating nuisances. However, the county took that as information and didn't put it in writing in a permit. That's the history.
Thank you, Maria. I think that is good information, good background. You said you used the word intensify. So who quantifies intensity? We've heard that business from one proponent has not increased, that it's been steady over the years, and then we heard from another proponent that the intensity or the traffic has increased. So is somebody measuring the refuse that's being collected? Like, how do we decide whether that has intensified or not? Sorry to ask such a difficult question, but I need to understand this gray area.
No, and that is a good question. So back in the 80s or the 90s, when the welding shop wanted to become a oil field equipment storage, so that was a change in the business, and then also there was more traffic, more storage. So generally, if the use changes or the business changes, they should come talk to the county, and we can decide if that use still meets the requirements of the land use bylaw. Businesses gradually grow over time, and that's what we like to see from an economic development standpoint. So usually in our office now, we discuss what the future might bring for businesses and ensure that they have growth built into their development permit. So I guess the intensity comes from when we discuss it with the business owner or when there's complaints because things have changed over time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Arno and then Lynette.
I think I have a question for Mr. Charlton, if you don't mind coming back to the mic. We have no ability to change the decisions of the past. We are here today, as we all know, and we're trying to find a solution to this. And I don't think anybody around this table doesn't want to add costs to the industry. We're all we're margin players in an industry that depends on efficiency, but also, responsible use. So, and I hear the applicant wanting to find a solution to this that works for everyone, and I don't hear the residents. I mean, you've said that things have changed. What, from your opinion, would be a solution to this? We probably have three options. We have the option to say get rid of the manure pit. We don't. That's a difficult one because of the history.
Oh, it is. Yes.
We have the option of saying keep going the way you are. That's probably not acceptable either. We're looking for middle ground here. Are there things from your perspective that could satisfy the situation that we're in, recognizing that here we are today. We can't change the past. We simply have to look forward, and how do we mitigate a situation to keep the neighborhood working the way we want it to. And I'm putting you on the spot, I realize that, but here we are. So,
well, one thing, why doesn't JBS have a supply clean out for their customers? And any auction mart you go to, and you haul cattle to,
we will be asking.
My dad owned an auction mart for years. We supplied a clean out for him. We actually had lots of Rober's trucks come over and use our clean out because they did not have a place to go. So to me, and I feel JBS should be supplying a clean out for these trucks because they see a lot of cattle every single day. And that would eliminate the manure that gets spilt on your county roads and your government roads, and that's one of the big problems. That would eliminate that.
That's duly noted, and we will be asking. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you both. You brought that to our attention. I need you to use the microphone. We can't speak without the mic.
Mr. Charlton might not be done either. I'd like to hear other things that he might have to say.
Well, and working with the neighbor, true, but on something like this, how are you going to eliminate the odor and fly problem?
Okay.
You've been anywhere in the feedlot business, the cattle business, it's going to be hard to control.
So hearing from NRCB that there are a couple ways, and they haven't been tried yet, that may be...
something to look at for sure, yes.
Okay.
And if that doesn't eliminate the problem, then what's the next step?
Yeah. Okay. Holly?
So you're saying you grew up in the ag industry, and if you still are in it, so you understand, though, there always will be flies in an agricultural area, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it's your tolerance level?
Yeah, and like I said, I've lived there 45 years, and I know what it used to be like, and I know what it's like today, and it's changed a lot.
Hi, Jeff. Was this subdivided off of your parcel back, or was it off the other parcel?
No, that wasn't.
So do you live on the east side? Or
yes.
Okay, on the east side. Okay. And okay, that was one of my big questions, and one of the things is the fly and odor and those type of issues. The NRCB has put together some recommendations here, and Mr. Robert just said, okay, yeah, we're going to be cleaning 2 to 3 times a week, and that's been recommended by the NRCB. With these fly control program, the windbreaks and things, do you think that would make a difference on the odor and the flies?
Possibly. Are you going to eliminate it? No.
No, it won't eliminate it for sure, because there's still cleaning going on even without the manure storage there, clean out. There's still washing trucks and things like that in the bay and things, and there's going to be flies and odor involved with that, right? So I'm just wondering without the manure clean out area, how much of those problems are still going to remain? And I'm thinking they probably will still remain.
You're not going to see the problems, like just washing out trucks like that, you're not going to see near the problems. No.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg. Dan?
One quick, I guess 2 quick questions.
Okay.
How are the other companies that are hauling cattle around to and from JBS or wherever, how are they dealing with the issue of not having a pit? And is there a need countywide for a service like this with a manure pit for trucks to clean out? So I don't know who to ask.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows the answer, feel free to give it.
Oh, Neil. Neil's going to take a stab at it.
It's not a stab at it. I know the answer. They're dumping over at Bow Slope. Like Robert's isn't going to take in Latreille's trucks, but Bow Slope has a huge pit over there that probably gets cleaned out 2 times a year. All the trucks that they can't dump at Robert's dump in there.
Okay.
And whatever we do here, there's a pile of manure over there that's, I'm going to say, 100 times bigger than anything that these guys have. I like the idea of, if we could follow it up, if that really is JBS's property on those trucks, that's who should. We're going to get a little resistance around here, but I mean they're a pretty good company too. They've always done the best they can for the community.
It's
But
definitely on our list for conversation later with JBS,
like these cleanouts have moved all over the place. Like wherever, it's hard to find a spot, and I really do applaud these guys for hauling 2 or 3 times a week. Like that's a pretty good effort, and I also know what Jeff goes through too.
Thank
you.
you.
I don't know, a windscreen and some fly spray, do whatever we can do to stop this thing, and I think we should work on maybe a JBS cleanout.
Okay.
Then it becomes my problem.
Gavin. Thank you, Jeff. Gavin, would you like to come forward? And then I'll be looking for a motion from MPC when you're ready. Gavin.
Since I've been in Brooks with Robert's Transport, we have requested numerous times, Lakeside, JBS, whoever the owners are, to put in a clean out because it is their produce.
Yeah. Okay.
They have flat refused. They have been asked numerous times over the years. They have flat refused.
Thank you for that information.
So
it definitely will be helpful moving forward.
I would just like to add, if Lakeside were forced into putting in a clean out for the trucks, that would almost kill our clean out because we wouldn't have to.
Right.
It would drop our clean out down to 10% of what it is now.
Okay.
Because we would only be cleaning out the occasional trailer there. And the only reason we have a clean out is because JBS doesn't have one.
Thank you for that. Maria.
Can I add one more potential option to the 3? There is an opportunity to give a temporary permit for a certain amount of time if there are some conditions that MPC would like to consider putting on this manure pit. And then you can reconvene in a year or 2 years, and maybe at that time JBS will open up, or some of these strategies might alleviate some of the adjacent landowner concerns.
Okay.
Just another option.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to word that for us, or you just did? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dan.
That was going to be my question. So the way I worded it, and I didn't want to make it a motion because I wasn't sure, but I think you answered my question.
Good.
The idea is to approve the trucking business and allow a temporary use of the manure pit with more frequent cleanings and more mitigation to be done for the smell and flies until, so the temporary permit would be good until a new pit is constructed in a more suitable location, whether that's at JBS or somewhere else, whatever. But from what you're saying, we can make that happen, right? We can put in a temporary permit.
That's what
that right?
Maria said, yes.
Okay.
Maria, did you want to put a timeline on that, Dan?
Yes, I think a timeline would be important.
I think that's what Maria's
Yeah.
going to ask. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, a timeline would be very important, and your potential motions mentions the removal or moving the pit, which is fine if that's the way you want to go, but if the mitigation strategies could work, then maybe there's an opportunity for it to stay where it is.
Okay. And Arno has another question or comment or a motion.
No, you've got a motion on the floor, don't you?
No.
Don't you?
Still a
My
question.
concern is that we don't add too many conditions to this, that we simply give a temporary permit. And in the meantime, there's going to be some reasonable efforts by everybody involved to try to find a solution to this problem. And they have been listed for us. We probably don't have to put them in the motion even, that there's going to be a temporary permit, and we're looking to mitigate the problem in the next, whatever the time frame, year or something like that. Eh? I mean, that would be a reasonable time frame from my perspective.
As long as, I do think that staff needs some guidelines on whether we label them as NRCB recommendations or something. I think some guidelines on what the mitigation might be. Neil, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, well, like both Gavin said, unless JBS decides.
Well, that's a separate matter.
It's a separate matter, but it really influences here. Like if JBS were to come across, but I'll tell you, they really don't have that much land anymore out there.
Okay, so
They sold
we're
it
not
all.
here to discuss them today. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, and I don't want to mix the two.
Does it
because
make a
that's
difference on
different
the conditions we
conversation.
put?
No, it does not in this moment. This moment, we're dealing with the RFD in front of us.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to be so hard on that, but go ahead, Shannon.
Thank you. Could we maybe add as a condition that Gavin discusses the fly control and the odor control with the NRCB and then come back to the county in a month and let us know what was suggested and what they're going to move ahead with? Could that be a condition? Not maybe that wordy, but that idea?
I'll leave that up to the mover. Holly, you have a question?
Oh, I'm just not sure a month is sufficient dealing with government to actually
Right.
get a response. And you know, it's Christmas, so I'm like, the month could be a little tight because I don't know if people are actually working.
Maria?
If a temporary permit is considered for a timeline, my suggestion would be a year or more. And then at that time, when the permit is expired, we would contact the Roberge, discuss what has been done, and then we would circulate to adjacent landowners again, and then request a permanent permit at that time. So this method, I guess, would be done again in whatever the timeline MPC decides on.
Okay, that's clear. I don't have a motion at this point. I'm looking for one, actually. Is there any? Lynette?
I would make that motion with the conditions that Dan listed with the NRCB things as a temporary permit for 1 year. And like Maria said, and then it goes back to the landowners. So hopefully I said that all correctly.
Approve a trucking permit and allow temporary permit for, if you
Oh.
can read that. That's kind of how I had it figured out from what was said.
You want to take another run at it?
Well, I think I kind of got it. I think I got it, but okay. But to approve the trucking permit to allow, a temporary permit for the manure pit for 1 year with the conditions that NRCB consulted and actions to reduce the nuisance to neighbors be taken.
Great. And I want to acknowledge that there are willing partners at this table, so I'm very hopeful that that will continue. Okay? Great.
Remember that one of those conditions was not over the weekends. So I'm just wondering if we should define the conditions on the motion rather than say NRCB conditions, because this is a 24/7, 365-day a year business.
However that needs to be worded.
Cheryl, can you? So I think what we're wanting to do is take NRCB recommendations, and not we, but Roberge take NRCB recommendations to the best of their abilities. Would that not be correct? Or do we want to be prescriptive and say, except for clean out on the weekends?
I don't think we want to be that prescriptive because the business still needs to operate.
That's right. Okay.
I think if I can recap what I've heard is a temporary permit for a year is being issued, subject to the condition that the applicant look at the NRCB conditions and figure out with the neighbor which of those makes sense for the business.
Right.
You don't get overly prescriptive. They can figure it out. They've got a year to do it. They come back and can say, it doesn't make any sense for us to do X, Y, and Z, but we did A, B, and C. Here's where we're at today. And hopefully in the meantime, we can have conversations with our friends at JBS and see if we can find a better solution for everybody.
So that's a little wordy, Cheryl, but I think that's what I'm hearing around the table. Feeling? Okay. Lynette made that motion. Are we ready for the question? All in favor of Lynette's motion? That is carried. Okay. Thank you both for coming in, and I wish you well over the next year. Do what you can, when you can, and continue to do it. Thank you. You're shut off right there.
I will be in contact with NRCB first of the year to try and mitigate this problem. And if any of the complainants want to come to my shop and discuss something that we can do to alleviate the situation, then I'm willing to do that, 100%.
Okay, and the doorway would be the same on the other side, I would think. So
I would hope so.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. We had no additions under other business on our agenda. We had no post-agenda items. Is there a need for in-camera today, MPC? No need. I will ask Catherine, are there any questions in the queue?
There are not.
There are none. I will adjourn this meeting then.
I'm going to suggest we take about 5 minutes and try